Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year 2026. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Wine Giro. We've been gone a long time, I know, but thank you for being loyal subscribers listening to us showcase iconic wine professionals in Kenya and beyond. Today, we are so lucky. We are in Karen at the Wine Box, their premium cellar. As you can see, we are surrounded by really good things. But more so, I'm so excited that we have an iconic guest, one of the most influential people we've had on the show so far. And this is Mike Ratcliffe from Vilafonte and other companies. We're going to be having this conversation talking about his journey, his philosophy in winemaking, the many great brands he's been involved in. He's also an industry leader in the South African wine space and beyond. And last but not least, he's very keen on charity through different initiatives. Welcome, Mike. It's so great to have you and welcome to Kenya.
Thanks, Wanjiro. It's great to be in Kenya. It's great to be in Nairobi. Feels like the beating heart of Africa. And I feel immediately welcome.
No, thank you so much. I tell people Nairobi is the center of the world, being so close to the equator and all that. But it's funny that, we are sitting here talking about wine today because I tell people as a Kenyan lady who grew up, born in the late, 70s, I probably had more chance of being an Olympic athlete than a sommelier or someone in the wine space, right? And secondly, I'm from a tea and coffee growing area. That would have been an easy profession to get into. But here we are, 10 years in the industry talking about wine. But you've been in this industry longer. So where did it begin for you?
Well, I can still remember days of my life when I was 5 or 6 years old, when I was being brought up in a family that was deeply embedded in the world of wine. We were making wine, growing wine. I was in the vineyards, picking grapes. I was in the winery, stomping grapes. And in my teen years, I was given the what they call the death shift, which is the midnight to 1 a.m. pump overs.
Oh my!
So I'd have to wake up and go and do it. So child labor in my formative years was quite common.
Was that even legal?
Let's put it.
Having uni alcohol, right?
Well, when it's in a family business, I think we all pitch in. So I think it's safe to say that blood it has been supplanted in my veins with red wine.
Awesome. And this is the Warwick Wine Estate, where your mother, Miss Noma, was one of the first female winemakers, right?
Yeah, my mother was born in Canada. She's very much alive and running around playing golf and entertaining her friends, and she's still a force to be reckoned with. But she was a pioneer for women in the industry. She was definitely one of the leading winemakers in the early days, certainly the most prominent first winemaker in South Africa. And being 5 foot, not much.
Oh.
And being Canadian, not speaking any Afrikaans, being in an industry surrounded by 6 foot plus winemakers, male with very big shoulders that had played rugby for most of their life. Mm-hmm. It was quite a thing for her. But when she tells the story, she always talks about the way that the industry wrapped its arms around her and that she was so well accepted. And I think that can almost be a very early metaphor for the current state of affairs in the South African wine industry. It's really collegial. People are very friendly. People are willing to help. It's definitely a team effort. So that's the kind of background that I come from. Which is not to say that anything was easy. In this industry, everything is hard. Mm-hmm. And that's why we breed people in this industry with character. And that's why the industry is dripping with so many great personalities.
Mm-hmm. Like yourself, of course, and many others. And you didn't play rugby, though you have the build for it.
I dabbled in a lot of sports.
Sure.
And I played rugby for many years.
Okay.
I was never a great sportsman. And I was never a great academic.
Wow.
Other than that, brilliant.
No, wait. What do you mean you're not a great academic? Because I know you have very many qualifications.
I do. But I don't think anybody ever accused me of overachieving in my studies. Okay. I never failed anything. But I got by.
You got by.
Yeah. I think people that excel in things, there's a great common denominator about people that do great things is they love them.
They love them.
And for me, studying was a means to an end, not an end in itself. Once the studying was out of the way, I think I put my university degrees in the top drawer and never looked at them again.
Sure.
Being a natural-born entrepreneur, I never had to do a job interview with myself.
No, true. And I mean, I read about you a lot. I've seen the accolades of the many things you're involved in that we'll get into as well. So it's funny that you did not have a winemaking background or sort of wine-led career, despite being born into a wine family with, of course, bottles of wine lying around. So how did that happen? Isn't it like guaranteed or expected that this is the way you will take? What were the decisions you had about, being involved with the family business or things like that?
I think the greatest compliment I can pay to my parents is that they never forced me or my sister into the wine industry. And to this day, that never, ever happened. When I finished university, I went abroad, I worked in finance, and ultimately I qualified as a yacht master, went into the sailing industry for a number of years, sailing professionally all over the world.
Wow.
And it was only in my late 20s that my parents said to me, look, you have an opportunity here. If you'd like to take it, the door's open. But if you don't want to take it, that's also fine. And so I guess that's a romantic way of saying I was never exposed to any pressure, which must have been, with hindsight, must have been very difficult for my parents not to exert that kind of pressure. But it's a great learning because I have two daughters.
Lovely.
And they are 19 and 20. And they are also finding their own way in life.
Oh, okay.
And so that learning is something that I can pass on to my daughters of not showing them any pressure. And I don't. And I know they don't feel it. And they are finding their own way, which is great. And I think that's something that perhaps a lot of parents could learn from my parents.
No, that's great. I mean, I can't begin to imagine having to say, for example, no, I'm not getting into the family business because I have other interests. So it's great that you made that choice. So yacht master, that's a whole new topic, right? I want to hear about all the boats and whatever. But then when you did finally get into wine, tell us about that journey, because in my understanding, you were kind of running two businesses parallel, both Warwick Wine Estate, which you sold to some, I would say, American investors.
Yeah.
And now Vilafonte, which is still in the heart and soul of your day-to-day, right?
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I formally got into the wine industry in the late 1990s. I had been living in Vancouver.
Oh, lovely.
I had to think about that.
Canada, eh?
Yeah. And sailing, running a boat.
Love it.
A big 129-foot staysail schooner built in 1929. Amazing boat. And I decided to move back to South Africa. And I went and joined the family business. By now, I was in my late 20s. And my father was very generous because after 3 or 4 months, I said, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Oh.
And I said, there's this great master's degree, like kind of wine MBA.
Oh,
it was the first time it was ever offered anywhere in the world. It was being offered by the University of Adelaide in Australia. And nobody knew what a wine MBA was. Now it's pretty common around the world. And I asked my dad, I said, listen, give me 1 more year to go and study a kind of wine-specific qualification. And he said, fine. So I moved to Australia for a year, did an intensive 1 year of studies. Then it was December, I moved back to South Africa and I took over as managing director. So that gave me insights. It gave me external knowledge. It gave me a network. It gave me a scientific background.
Wow.
It gave me an exposure to the global wine market because I hadn't been exposed to it. And it was a really fantastic stepping stone for me. So that's how I got into it. Earlier in my career, I had met 2 Californians, Dr. Zelma Long and Dr. Phil Freese. And they had come to South Africa to be judges at the South African Airways wine competition.
Oh, lovely.
Fell in love with South Africa. They were there when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison. They were there when apartheid was ending. And they once said to me, South Africa's got it all. It's got some of the oldest, most ancient decomposed soils in the world. It's got this incredible two oceans surrounding it, the Atlantic and the South Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. It's got this incredible array of diverse terroirs. South Africa, there's no reason why South Africa can't produce wines that are as good, if not better,
yes,
than the greatest wines in the world. And that kind of got me thinking. And they ended up being partners in Vilafonte, which, as you mentioned, became the second winery that I got involved in, where I was running Vilafonte and Warwick in parallel.
Wow.
So I think I was managing director of both companies from 2003 until 2018. But Vilafonte was planted before that.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, it's. I've always said that one of the greatest things that I've ever done in my life is getting involved with people that are much smarter than me, and finding those people who are willing to tolerate somebody that's not as smart as them is also not that easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I've spent a quarter of a century surrounding myself with people that can teach me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they have respect for my skills, my knowledge, I just feel like I'm a sponge, soaking up deep international know-how and knowledge. And that's been a major asset. It's probably the biggest asset.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. Vilafonte sounds, I don't know, Italian. Where does the name come from? It's certainly not Afrikaans, right? It's certainly not like the other names we have to learn to pronounce from South Africa. So
it is a bit different.
The history of that name?
So, we've spent almost 30 years now working to build Vilafonte. The name, very simply put, is the name of the soil on our property. And when my partner, Dr. Phil Freese, was learning about this man with PhD in viticulture, when he was learning about the ancient soils of the world, he started studying how the great ancient soils of the world impact the greatest wines in the world. It sounds like a big topic, but very quickly he narrowed down the ancient soils of the world to realize that almost all of the oldest soils in the world are in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be very clear when you define this, because I've heard some crazy numbers from various people. We're defining soil. We're not defining continents.
Okay.
Those are different things.
Those are different things, yes.
So I've heard some claims of my soil is 300 million years old. No, it's not. It's just not. So that nuance, I think, is important. But when he was doing his dissertations, he realized that actually the oldest documented soil in the world was in Southern Africa. Almost all of the ancient soils of the world in Africa, and of all of them, the oldest is called Vilafonte.
No way.
And so that's where the name comes from. In fact, the name is slightly different. It's called Vilafontes.
Oh, Vilafontes, okay.
Yeah. And somewhere in the last 30 years, the S got lost.
And then the apostrophe came in as well.
Yeah, I think it's, I can't remember why. I think there might have been a document where they pronounced the Vilafonte, and we thought that was nice.
Okay, lovely.
So,
and great for branding too, I guess. Very.
Well, the story's more interesting is because we didn't automatically name the property. Phil went in search of the Vilafonte soil type, and he found it. And when we bought our first property, it was based on the fact that this 100-acre, 40-hectare property was predominantly the soil type.
Soil, okay.
And the great experiment, if you want to call it that, was to answer a question: what would happen if you took the most classic grape varieties in the world and planted them in the oldest documented soils in the world? Question mark. So that's how Vilafonte started. It was like, we should try this. That could be super cool. But at the time, our property was not called Vilafonte, it was our property. And we spent hours drinking bottles of wine, having long debates, creating lists about what our wine was going to be called. And eventually we had a late night, the three of us, when my future wife, who was then not even my fiance, my girlfriend walked in and said, "You guys have all had too much to drink. It's time for you to go home. The soil on your property is called Vilafonte. Your winery is called Vilafonte. That's it.
Go home. Okay.
And that was actually the moment.
Wow.
And that lovely woman became my lovely fiance, and then my wife. And we've been married 25 years this year.
Almost as
We've been together 25 years. So.
wow, congratulations. Almost as old as the business.
Exactly.
and the daughters, right? But that's very interesting. So something that stands out is, okay, you were not in the wine business before. Then, of course, timing is right. You go and you increase your education, but then you meet two very important people from the other side of the world. I don't know what's the nautical miles from
to be specific, it's
Cape Town
really far. It's almost, if you wanted to balance the globe,
yeah,
you would put two fingers.
Oh, my word.
And you would have fairly good balance.
Yeah, because again, that's very interesting. South Africa was isolated for the most part. Then here you are with two people who are going to, in essence, change your life and start this business as well.
Yeah, you put it well. They did change my life.
Amazing.
And to their credit, after all these years, we never had a fight. We had disagreements, but we had great respect for each other's inherent talents and skills. So Zelma was in charge of winemaking. We would have endless debates and we'd push each other, but at the end, she was always given pure authority for winemaking decisions. Phil, in terms of the viticulture, he likes to call it wine growing, which I think is a word that should be more in our vocabulary, wine growing. He had final authority on wine growing and any kind of vineyard decisions. And in terms of branding, running the business, positioning, sales, we debated everything, but it was always my responsibility and my decision making. And that's what kept the partnership the most beautiful thing, because we really trusted each other. And the story gets more interesting because after more than 25 years, they decided to retire.
Okay.
Which is about 3 years ago. So I guess that's 2021 or 2022, something like that. And so I purchased their shares to keep the business,
100%.
100%. But they love Vilafonte so much because they put so much of their love and their passion into it.
Yeah.
That they still come out from California every year for harvest.
Sure.
And they'll be here next week for harvest.
Got it.
And they're still there at 6 a.m.
Wow. Even in their, I would assume, older age, right?
Yeah.
You were the young one in this tripartite agreement. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they're not shareholders, but they just love it. So, and we love having them there.
Sure.
And to their credit, my team love them.
Okay.
Because they're just the nicest people.
That's not to be taken for granted. We know about lovely, huge, great companies that have fallen apart because of founder disagreements or, management politics. So you've not been lucky. I guess you have worked on it.
No, we worked on it, yeah.
And have been able to have this good thing. I want to get to the point where you focused on Vilafonte alone, but I have to tell you some of my favorite Warwick memories. When I actually, my story is kind of similar to yours in the way that I was not in the wine business. Then an opportunity came up, and Jonathan Stein's program at University of Cape Town Graduate School of Business. I'm not even sure how I got that information, but anyway, they were running this. They had just launched their diploma. So I signed up for that because I wanted to know about wine, and I had come back home from South Africa and I wanted to start a business here. Of course, and that's where I met Matume actually and started doing work for Wines of South Africa, right? But then I quickly realized perhaps I need more. So then I went for the WSET courses, and my level 2 first course I ever did with Wines and Spirits Education Trust was at Warwick, of course run by Kathy Mason, who's the top educator there. Then secondly, while doing my wine research and whatever, I met Spencer Founder-Mire, who's of course worked for the estate, and I guess is still very keen to the South African wine industry. Yeah. And he was your national sales manager at the time, I think. So yeah, we got some good deals on some wines at that point in time. So that's the story. And of course, now that has been sold, and you were part of that transition. So interesting also the timing and the decisions you had to make on that family business.
But let me interrupt for a second, because the Graduate School of Business wine program was started, the idea behind it was started the year that I got back from Australia.
No way.
And I came back and I said, why don't we have something like that?
Because it was similar to what you did in Adelaide.
Exactly. Okay, So I came back and spoke to a few people. One of my people that inspired me was Michael Fredgen, who went on to become, I think he's a professor.
Yeah. He's part of the
GSB. And I then approached ECT.
Okay.
And I convinced Dr. Johan Brever, who is a South African lecturer at Australia for me. And I convinced him to come and try to get this program up and running. And through the influence of these different people, that's what happened. And it's, as you know, it's still running today.
It's still running, yeah.
And so Dr. Dion was a very important person in managing to convince UCT to do that. But I always like to think that I just had a little hand in getting that ball rolling.
You're a connector. I'm looking forward to whatever connections I have access to now that, we're having this conversation and the like. But then you're involved in the industry. But before we get into your industry roles, I think you have to speak about perhaps that transition.
At Warwick.
To focus mainly on Vilafonte. And of course, both brands, well known, are both award winning. And I know there's a lot of South African firsts that I'm sure you're willing to share and boast about.
Well, I mean, Warwick was a wonderful part of my life. My life has always been about chapters. I celebrate the opening of a chapter and I celebrate the closing of a chapter. I don't think there's ever any space for being sad about closing a chapter.
Exactly, yeah.
And one of the things I take great pride of in my life is all the different chapters that I've enjoyed.
That's a nice way to look at it. Yeah, I like that, chapters.
And I share that metaphor with my children. So don't be scared to start and finish things. You don't, just because you're doing something doesn't mean you have to do it forever. So Warwick was founded in 1964. It was where I was born. At my formative years, it's my family's entry into the wine industry, and it was a great success. I took over as managing director in, I can't remember exactly, but maybe 99 or 2000, something like that, and spent almost 20 years building it up into something that was significant, put it that way. My family, you always need a plan. You always need a succession plan. While I was building this, I was also building Vilafonte. And a decision was taken. Warwick was never for sale, but the conversations around succession planning had always been on the table. And it's just my mother. My dad passed away in 2004, a long time ago. So there was always a plan about how do we take this forward. My sister moved to Canada, as my family has Canadian history, and she lives in Toronto. And I guess the long and the short is it made sense to sell Warwick. We made a very good offer by some very nice people from California, and it was a happy deal. And we knew we were handing it over to people, it was going to good hands. But it was still sad. But going back to the metaphor of the chapter, you can be sad, but don't be regretful. Those are two different things. So I like to think of it as being, what's the word? I've got fond memories.
Got it.
And I've got a great sense of pride about what we achieved at Warwick. Having said that, it became a springboard for focus, which has always been an absolute key thing in my life. And it's been something that I preach. Probably some people get bored of hearing me speak about it, but the wine industry is not very good at focus. Some regions are good at focus. But the wine industry, people think that more wine is better. My philosophy has always been pick something that you love. Throw everything at it. Get good. Be the best. I have an advisory company that I started in 2016 called Wine Business Advisors. We've advised great wineries and startup wineries and wine companies all around the world, all over Europe, England, Africa. And that is an element of the advice that I tend to hand over all the time. If you want to start a business, find a point of differentiation. And so the transition from running two companies with two hats on, firstly, relieved a lot of stress because it was hard work being one person one day and another person the other day. You have to wear two different caps.
Business schizophrenia.
Well, yeah.
Somewhat,
They're separate shareholders. You can't be seen to be doing one company against the other or anything. And so what that did is it allowed me to start implementing the advice that I'd been giving to other people about pick something and be good at it. And so in 2018, I moved into a phase in my life when I could focus on one thing, and that was Vilafonte, which is red blends. I over 20 years, developed a huge passion for blending red wine.
Wow.
I developed a huge understanding for the merits of blending wine, your ability to to remove quality variation, but express vintage variation in a much more opportune way than single varieties. And so Vilafonte is a winery that just produces blends. We don't even put the ingredients on the label. And we only have 3 wines. And we only make red wine. And so I think Vilafonte is the perfect expression for me of specialization, of focus. So what did I say? Pick something you love.
Yes.
I love red blends. I love Bordeaux blends. That's all we do. I love red wine. That's my favorite. And I love specializing. And so that's where we are at the moment.
Wow.
And yeah, Vilafonte is a very exciting business. It's driven by a small group of super passionate people who are in their own rights specialists, and who each one of them is extremely good at what they do, and in many ways are leaders in what they do in their individual segments. And so it's a long answer to your question, but it does definitely stress what I think is important about being good at something.
Yeah. And shining through. Okay. So Series M, definitely what Merlot based blend. Series C is Cabernet based blend. Then they seriously old that is also a blend, but interesting name also.
Yeah, I mean, on our property, I mean, for Vilafonte, we've never bought a grape, we've never sold a grape.
Okay, so it's all estate.
We farm everything. We don't use the word estate because it has no importance to us, but yes, we farm our grapes. We express our terroir. We have a particular soil type that is not prevalent. I'm sure it exists in other pockets of the wine country, but I don't know where they are. I haven't heard anyone else talking about it.
Yeah.
And the Vilafonte soil type is our little piece of dirt. We grow all our grapes for Series M and Series C on that piece of land. We only have 4 grapes. Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, CNC.
Yes.
Merlot and Malbec.
Yes. Merlot and Malbec.
Merlot and Malbec,
yes.
M&M. And so we do alternate the blends every year, and we're blending for consistency of style. That's the only thing that we look for. So Vilafonte has a style. You can taste Vilafonte in a blind tasting. It tastes like something.
Distinctly, okay.
It doesn't taste like other wines, and that's very important to me. Which is not to say it's better or worse, but it has a house style. The terroir, which is predominantly the soil, shines through. In what I like to think of it as a positive way. And so that's how Series M and Series C came about. When we started blending the wines in the early days, back in 2001, 2002, 2003, we saw that there were 2 interesting, distinct, unique flavor and style expressions coming out of our vineyard. And actually our original vision was to produce a single wine.
Wow.
And we actually had to compromise in the very early days because we got these 2 outrageously incredible styles. And Zelma said to me, look, if we blend these together, we're going to average out these 2 great peaks of quality. I don't want to do that. And so before we even started selling wine, we had 2 wines instead of 1. And that's worked very, very well.
Very well, okay.
Series Dirt, this wine right here, is a classic second wine in the same style as great Bordeaux Chateau. I guess the difference is that, the first thing is it allows us to incorporate anything that might not in any particular vintage fit into the Series M or Series C style.
Got it,
it can be incorporated. Secondly, young vineyards can be incorporated. Younger vineyards, which don't always go into Series Dirt, but they can. There's a place for them to go. And then finally, it gives us an opportunity to experiment. So we can go outside of our boundaries. We can go seek out interesting pockets of land, plant grapes on them, or find old 30-year-old Cabernet vineyards that might be interesting and go and purchase some of those grapes or rent. Sometimes we even rent the vineyard and just manage that.
Okay.
And it gives us an opportunity to be flexible, to be experimental.
Right.
So Series Dirt's the only place where grapes that might not be grown by ourselves could be incorporated. And so that's quite a lot of fun. That being able to experiment is fabulous. But that's the range.
That's the range. I love it. About how many cases a year? or production? I'm not sure. Is it?
Oh, that's too difficult to say.
Okay.
I can tell you that on the Vilafonte, the M and the C, we do. I mean, we're not a big producer. Maybe 3,000 cases.
Okay.
We don't try to be big.
3,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that big.
It's not that big, yeah. And this is six bottle cases or 12 for six. Okay, that's not a lot.
So we're not trying to be big. We are borderline garagiste. That's for each, by the way, just for the record.
Oh, for each. Okay, so that's like 6,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
not too much anyway.
No. But we'd never set our sights on volume.
Sure.
We've never tried to be anything other than what we are. We're not trying to expand outside of our borders, and literally the vineyards that we plant are the vineyards that we use.
Okay, now got it.
Which is quite simple.
Quite simple.
Yeah.
Bold decisions you're making there.
Well, we are limited by what the vineyard gives us every year.
Totally.
There are vintages where it's a bit bigger, vintages where it's a bit smaller. But bear in mind, given the blending paradigm that we pursue, we have the ability in a stronger vintage to increase our volume, in a weaker vintage to decrease our volume, because we've got sericel dirt. We've got a place where we can blend up or blend down.
Okay.
So I am biased.
You reckon?
for Vilafonte, I feel like, given my personal passion for blended red wine, Bordeaux blends, I personally think that we have the best business model possible because we have so much flexibility. I mentioned it earlier, but I might talk a little bit about it, is that we have our customers are willing to spend a bit more.
Got it, yeah.
But they are expecting more value. These are not fools. Our customers are the opposite of fools. They're super smart people and they're willing to spend more. But when they expect more, they want consistency. And so the needle that you have to thread when you're blending red wines, I could also phrase this as the luxury that you have, is that we cannot be blending away vintage variation. We need to express the vintage. Our clients care about the difference between a 2020 and a 2017.
True.
They care. They want to feel that vintage expressing itself. But at the same time, our clients will not tolerate quality variation. And so there's a very fine line that myself and my team have to thread between maintaining vintage variation and getting rid of quality variation.
Quality variation. Very, very, very useful insight there. Yeah. Very useful insight there. So you're not creating a house style per se, even though you said if you taste a Vilafonte, you'll know it is one. But yeah, quality, top priority, like you said. Yeah, I like that.
There is, however, a house style because the grapes are all grown on the same soil.
Sure, okay.
And I think another luxury that we have is that if you were to open today a 2003 vintage or a 2023 vintage, you would taste that house style.
Okay.
So we have got the same piece of land from 1998. We've got the same vineyards. We've never pulled out a vineyard. You've got the same winemaker.
Oh, consistently through.
Well, up until until
the retirement.
But the influence is still felt. You've still got the same philosophy. You've still got the same range.
Got it.
There's no new wines. There's been no rosé added or suddenly there's a sparkling wine. We are making the same wines since 2003 from vineyards planted in 1998. And so we have had a lot of opportunity to mess it up. Luckily, we haven't messed it up, but we've also had a lot of opportunity to learn. And not everything has gone smoothly.
Sure.
Sometimes the speed bumps are where you learn to drive slowly.
Awesome.
But also we've done a lot of things right and we're able to replicate those. And so the luxury, which I think might be something that some of your viewers could learn from, is doing the same thing over and over and just getting better at it, incremental improvements. But as soon as you're continually doing new things, it becomes a struggle to get better because you're always scrambling for the new as opposed to improving the old. And there are a vast number of lessons that we can learn from the wine industry. Often the common denominator of great brands in the world, great wine brands, maybe great brands, is that they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And they've had the ability to to improve year after year after year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's important for us.
I love it. I love it. Now, speaking about accolades, because there are many, aren't they? Very, very many. So we have to be selective on what we say. But I know in terms of critics scoring, you have many firsts. Then, of course, spectacular listings, either from around the world. So maybe you'll select your favorite accolades that you want us to know about Vilafonte specifically, and then we'll come back to why Kenya, especially at this day and age. Then we'll segue eventually to the end to your industry stuff as well. Yeah. So accolades.
Well, we've gone out of our way not to use accolades.
There's no stickers, right?
No, and we don't really enter. We don't enter very much.
Yeah.
And if you go to our website, vilafonte.com, there's no mention of anything. So we celebrate critics.
Okay.
Generally because the good ones have deep experience and they're often the best way to get honest feedback. Assuming that you believe that all criticism is honest.
And objective. Yeah.
At the same time, while we are currently the highest rated Bordeaux blend in South African history from Robert Parker, from consistently the top rated I think over the last 3 or 4 years from James Suckling, these are people that have
gravitas.
They have some gravitas. We don't really talk about that. I think the things that make me most proud are winery accolades, where the winery is celebrated as opposed to wine. Because for us to be celebrated, it doesn't help having a vintage that gets 100 points, although it's been useful.
It matters, right?
Yeah. It doesn't help having if your next vintage is going to be no good.
Okay.
So customers can be fooled once. You can sell anything once, but if you don't have consistency, you don't develop that long-term loyalty, which is the fuel that drives greatness.
True.
Long-term loyalty. So we were recognized in 2021 as the International Wine and Spirit Competition Global Winery of the Year.
Wow, that is huge.
Massive accolade.
Yeah.
And I think the thing
Winery of the Year. That's huge for people who only produce 3 wines.
Yeah, that was a very proud moment. And actually, in 2024, we were awarded the same accolade again.
Oh wow! So twice.
One of a handful of wineries in the world that have ever received that.
And within a space of 5 years, right?
Within a space of 3 years.
Oh, 21 and 24. Okay, got it. Yeah.
So that's probably the highlights. But
Congratulations.
To be honest, when my customers send me a WhatsApp at 9:00 on a Saturday night and saying I've got a magnificent fillet and I'm drinking a magnum of your 2004 Vilafonte Series C and I've got a little tear in the corner of my eye. This is the accolade that is born from loyalty, where people truly love our brand.
Got it.
They truly love what we do. And it's also a recognition of trust that they place in us, because there are a lot of wines, majority of wines are much cheaper. Are they better value though? That would be the question. And these are customers that customer that was drinking the Magnum of 2004 bought that at a very expensive price a long time ago and has showed patience, and eventually it rewarded his patience. And so there is an accolade that really, really means something. And we have an army of not just consumers, but also sommeliers around the world who know that they can serve our wine with confidence, that when somebody is spending more and when they want to celebrate an occasion or when they are looking for a specific highlight to the evening, if the sommelier were to serve a bottle of Vilafonte, they know that they can pour it with confidence, that they're going to get a good tip and a pat on the back saying, thank you for the introduction.
Oh, love it, love it. And because, of course, your marketing, or is it your distribution, is very allocation oriented and premier located. It's not necessarily available to anybody at any time. Yeah.
We're not trying to be unavailable. It's very important. I hear too much talk about you can't have 2 bottles, you can only have 1. I think that type of marketing comes from arrogance.
Come to the wine box, you can buy a whole case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we simply don't make that much.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of very loyal clients, and the nice thing about loyal clients is they tell their friends.
Yeah.
And the other thing about loyal clients is they buy every single year.
Every single year.
And
And
so-
are patient to even celebrate before consuming.
Yeah. So I think a scarcity that is honest is the kind of scarcity that you want. A scarcity that is manufactured, and it happens in every kind of industry. You hear about luxury brands destroying tons of high-end brands and clothing because they want to be perceived as scarce. I get it and I understand it, but I think an honest scarcity is the key. And if you know that you can transfer the message of scarcity honestly through to a sommelier, for example, when the sommelier pours their wine at the table, they should say, this is one of only 4 bottles in our restaurant or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Customers like that. They seek out special experiences. They seek out exclusivity. And I guess that's our job to provide them with that.
Yeah. And soon there'll be a whole lot of Kenyan loyal consumers. I mean, people who already know the brand, I'm sure it has been somewhat in the market in different ways. I remember my first seriously old dirt that was before COVID, from a restaurant called Sierra that had a sort of similar setup, and the price then was really, really fair comparatively. It was really, really fair. So I should have bought a lot more cases then and still be consuming them now. Yes.
Our clients never complain about the price.
Yeah.
They usually say, why can I can't find it.
I can't find it in there.
So
you're providing value.
Everything in life has got a price, and everything in life has got a value. And if your price is above the value you provide, your business will end. If your perceived value exceeds the price, as my late father used to say, if the only thing I remember in the morning is the price, then you failed.
Then you failed, sure. Okay.
So
we will definitely remember more.
We have our wines are well distributed. You asked about Kenya.
Yes, Kenya.
Our wines are well distributed.
And the timing actually for now also, yeah.
Yeah, well, Dan Davies at Dion Wines and Spirits is a great believer. He's become a friend. He's a great gentleman of the wine industry, somebody who's making waves and bringing in a remarkable selection of wines that have great pedigree, often family-owned, wines that have personality, wines that speak to the terroir, wines that speak to the handcrafted nature of what it is that those wines are. And, I think there are, of course, other people bringing in remarkable wines, but I think Dan is, and the whole Dion Wines team, they're doing something quite special for the market. On top of that, education. You need to just educate people all the time. And the beautiful thing about wine education, I know that you are passionate about wine education, but in my long career, it's very seldom that I find a group of wine people that are not wide open to to learning.
Yeah.
It somehow fits into the DNA of people that enjoy the wine industry. I'm sure you have some thoughts on that.
No, absolutely. In fact, it's good you've mentioned Dan, because he was actually, when we launched WSET in Kenya 2018, he was in the first class. He was right there in the first class. And of course, has acquired additional qualifications after that. But actually, if I need to give him his flowers, because he has sent, I think, the most number of people during my tenure to the WSET class. And it wasn't just sort of salespeople, direct customer facing who deal with wine. Even the guy doing the website came to class. I think it was part of their but he's been very, very supportive of especially the Wines and Spirits Education Trust and other initiatives that we've had. So definitely, I'm going to allow him on that as well. Yeah. But then I know you're not just passionate about education, but then growing the industry from an industry level roles, right? Yeah. You've been part of a big supporter of, for example, the South African Sommelier Association, for example. And I mean, since its inception, I think you said, you're a big industry leader in terms of the Stellenbosch Wine Routes and other initiatives like that. You're very, very generous philanthropist, setting up the, is it Cape Wine Auction? And even the other thing we're talking about earlier, I forget, the foodies versus So maybe you can explain your passion on that end as well, because we can definitely see the wine passion the business focus, that comes through very clearly every time you talk. But then again, you're not letting this go. Why is this important as well in the bigger scheme of things?
Well, I mean, one of the charity events, the Foodies versus Winos, is just that, about getting the chefs and sommeliers and winemakers together for a day of camaraderie. But let's not forget that the wine industry is actually also a food industry, and the food industry is a wine industry. They coexist in an absolutely beautiful way, and trying to separate them is folly, especially when you're moving it into the fine wine side of the market, not the commodity side of the market. Let me stress that I don't know anything about the commodity side of the market.
Got it.
I also have no interest. And I respect the fact that somebody needs to be able to buy a cheap bottle of wine. I'm totally fine with that, but it's not where I play. So our business, Vilafonte, has always been built in restaurants. We are a restaurant brand, and there's evidence of that across 20, I forget, maybe 20 to 25 countries where we sell wine. And so it's been a very natural thing for me to get behind the remarkable people that have created the South African Sommeliers Association, and to support them through my own personal efforts, but also in my role as chairman of Stellenbosch Wine Routes. My board has been 100% supportive of throwing everything at building a new generation of sommeliers, a much bigger generation of sommeliers in South Africa. And I would like to think that we've played a significant role. I know they are very supportive and very grateful, but it's a symbiosis. So that's why in May 2025, I was so thrilled to see that Kenya, Kenya Sommeliers Association got recognized. I was thrilled to see that Kenya sending a delegation to Europe. I was thrilled to see Kenya sending a sommeliers delegation to the Ubuntu Trophy in December in Stellenbosch in South Africa. So thrilled, really thrilled. I think it's fantastic. And my feeling, not from deep experience and knowledge, but from speaking to people like yourself and a lot of other influential people that I've spoken to in just in the Nairobi industry, is that the excitement about food and wine is thriving, that people are interested, that through initiatives like the Sommeliers Association, through some of your leadership as well, that people are very much keen to learn. WSET is a key driver in that. And from my brief experience, it only seems that Nairobi in general and Kenya as well is going to go from strength to strength in this regard, and certainly show a leadership role in this part of Africa. But it is also the rest of Africa where there's incredible enthusiasm. And the islands, Indian Ocean islands, lots of energy. So I couldn't be more excited for what's going on here. And I was actually speaking over lunch today about how getting people educated at the highest level about food and wine and the combination and the serving practices is an incredible catalyst, which will, by definition, take not just the wine industry, but the food industry a long way. And that's something to watch very closely. It's very exciting.
No, definitely. And I mean, it's you talked about excitement and, being elated by, whatever is happening in the market. 10 years ago when we started, like I said, I was the most unlikely person to be in this business, number one. But just even with the vision for example, W said, we didn't expect that, like now, there's 2 people actually doing the diploma in Cape Town. There's 2 of our members, professionals in the industry, who are taking that to that level. I'm sure in the next 3 years, we'll have a Master of Wine that's Kenyan. There's, the Cotton Master Sommeliers, there's Cape Wine Academy, there's all these other courses that are happening. There's such a big bouquet for any of the wine professionals. That's really, really exciting. You spoke about chapters. I'm enjoying this new chapter as the Sommelier Association lead. And I wasn't very keen on, to be honest, at the beginning, because I was thinking it would be better for a younger sort of, more vibrant person coming in. But even just the opportunities that opened, and just, really being the voice and being able to develop this. Every time I walk into an institution like the colleges for hospitality, I look at the young ones and I'm so jealous. They are early 20s. If I think about getting into this industry sort of midway through life, and there's still so much to do, right? Yeah. So I was telling you earlier, I saw something about an 100-year plan. I mean, I don't even have that long-term view, but then you were like, well, 11 years are down, now it's 89 years to go. I think that's the kind of view we should be taking in terms of the things we're thinking about, and definitely looking after people like you to see how that comes forward. But maybe just in closing, parting shots perhaps, and anyway, whatever other thing you want to add, in the sense that Kenyans should know about Vilafonte, but then what would success for Vilafonte as a brand in Kenya look for you? Say now we're in 2026? Say in the next 4 years or 5 years, what would success look like to you? What do we need to do to make you proud?
I mean, that's a great question. Yeah. And it goes back to the 100-year plan.
Sure.
So if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. And that also relates back to the chapters. So you can have a short-term goal, which could be 3 years long. And if you know exactly what success looks like, the question is, how do you define success? Mm-hmm. And you just asked me that question. So Vilafonte is not for everybody. It's not everybody's brand. It's a red wine. Our greatest success around the world has actually been with Cerisol Dirt because of its price point, much more accessible, and it has provided a very good opportunity for a large number of people to attach an affordable luxury tag to it and to be able to access the world of Vilafonte without necessarily having the budget to climb to the top of the ladder. Mm-hmm. And so success in that respect is definitely about education, about the brand, which I will do and my team will do, and we will be speaking to everybody, but about getting people onto the ladder. Mm-hmm. Because another thing that I've learned and has proven itself over and over is greatness takes a long time. You can't rush anything. I would like to think that in 5 years' time, the most important consumers are feeling very comfortable with Vilafonte. They've started collecting. Mm-hmm. I would like to think that the greatest restaurants in not just Nairobi, but in Kenya have developed a level of comfort and are starting to develop a vertical selection, which we can also supply on their wine list. Why not have 3 vintages? Why not have a 10-year-old? Why not have a 20-year-old on the list? And finally, my wish is that everybody taps into our channels and hears the stories, not just one day at a time, and not just once a year, but every day. And we have identified, at the risk of being rash or to do any marketing, Instagram is the most wonderful channel. And we broadcast live all the time. If you want to know what's going on in the winery, if you want to see what's happening live during harvest, our Instagram channel is fascinating and full of real people doing real things. And so one of the best ways to educate is to go to Instagram and follow at Vilafonte. We consciously put energy into making it educational and entertaining. So it's not just we won a gold medal. and then you ask me for...
And even if you do, it's okay.
Well, we got to enter first. But you asked me for a closing comment, and here's my closing comment. I'm going to speak into the camera.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to think that great wine-orientated businesses in Kenya would see the benefit of building up the sommelier as a career, building up the reputation of sommelier as a career, putting your hand in your pocket, digging deep and supporting it, speaking to the Sommeliers Association, saying, what can I do to raise this? Because this is the great catalyst that will take the industry to the next level. So it works. And if that can be something that I can put some energy into and maybe start the ball rolling, I think that would be a great thing. Going back to my comment earlier, nothing great just happens and nothing great happens quickly. But if you want something great, you need to start it. And I think there's opportunity for very little cost for all the serious wine companies to put aside their petty differences and invest energy and money.
I'm lost for words. Thank you so much, Mike. In that moment where you're giving us that very huge endorsement, I felt like that client to send you a WhatsApp message about the Magnum. I do have a tear in the eye because we have passion and we want to grow this, profession and this industry, and getting that endorsement from you is really, really an honor. Thank you so much for your time. I know you have a busy, is it next 2 days in Nairobi, mingling with the wine crowd and of course showcasing your wines. We're looking forward to that. 28th of January will never be the same again for me, because really having to sit with you and look forward to many of these such sessions. I feel like I've been to a mini Mike Ratcliffe University right here in Karen, Nairobi, Kenya. So there you have it. 100-year plans, we need to have that in mind, and we need to approach all activities in whatever we do with that focus. Think about quality, and consistency is really, really big as well. And if you can get to Cape Town and get to Vilafonte, well, you can come down here to the Wine Box and enjoy some Vilafonte, and I'm sure in many places around the city very soon. Thank you so much. That is the end of our session today. Happy 2026 again. And of course, subscribe and let's engage on more wine content across Kenya and beyond. All the best. This is Wanjiru Morethi signing off. Bye.